I heard the trucks before I saw them. 3 gleaming vans rumbling up Maple Street one Monday in early May. Logos of a rising double helix stenciled on the doors. Heritage Horizon, the lettering read, flanked by slogans that promised the future of family. People drifted onto porches, coffee mugs in hand, watching delivery men in blue polos hop out and begin stacking small white boxes on stoops. By noon, every mailbox in Greenglass, Nebraska, population 1704, held a shrink-wrapped DNA ancestry kit, free of charge, courtesy of a state-funded rural genomic initiative. Nobody questioned the gift for long. Greenglass had lost its factory and half its tax base when the fertilizer plant closed, so free usually sounded like salvation. Besides, a lot of us were bored, curious, or both. The kit's instructions were simple. Spit in the tube, register the barcode on the website printed in gold foil, and drop the prepaid envelope at the post office. That evening, the diner buzzed louder than the frying oil. Coach Madsen bragged he'd trace his line straight to Leif Erikson. Mrs. Alvarez declared she'd finally prove her grandmother's tales of Sephardic roots. The only holdout was old Mr. Fenwick, who laughed from his corner booth. Last thing I need is the government cataloging my fluids. I mailed my sample 2 days later, almost without thinking, same as I paid bills or grabbed milk. I was 32, divorced, childless, and still living in the upstairs of the house where I'd grown up. There was an unspoken promise in the barcode, a possibility that knowing where the blood came from might help me understand why my life so far felt like a stalled truck in winter. The results arrived precisely 2 weeks later, at dawn on a Saturday, pinging my phone with a cheerful chime. Congratulations, Lucy Alden. 100%. Match lineage. The progenitor. No pie chart, no percentages of Scandinavian or West African or indigenous DNA. Just that single line and, beneath it, a link labeled, Learn More About Your Ancestor. I clicked. The browser showed a sepia silhouette of a tall figure in archaic clothing, face turned aside so the features dissolved into shadow. Underneath, a paragraph in ornate cursive. The progenitor roamed the continent before states had names, sowing seeds of perseverance in each settlement. Those who share the progenitor's legacy carry within them a spark destined to reignite in a time of convergence. Stand ready. A glitch, I thought. I backed out, reloaded. Same page. I tried searching message boards. No mention of any progenitor in Heritage Horizon's marketing. But when I logged onto the town Facebook group, confusion mirrored mine. Every single person, teenagers, retirees, couples who'd married in from Chicago, had received the identical result. Some joked about inbreeding. Others accused the company of fraud. A few shrugged and said maybe the data would update later. I felt heat creeping up my spine, a primitive, animal unease, as if I'd just realized everyone in the diner had been mouthing the same words in unison. By lunch, the first envelopes arrived. Cream-colored stationery with an embossed wax seal stamped P. No return address. Each mailbox in town received one, no exceptions. Inside sat several pages of slanted handwriting that looked hand-inked, the letters looping like musical notes. The opening sentence, "My dear descendants, the celestial hinge turns again, and at last the door shall open." The writing was archaic, yet unnervingly lucid. The author claimed to be the very ancestor who'd seeded our town's bloodlines. The diary continued in neat dated entries, always ending with the same refrain, "Prepare your vessels." On June 21st, during the total eclipse, I come to reclaim what is mine. My fingers trembled as I read. I glanced out the window. Across the street, Mrs. Alvarez stood barefoot on her porch, clutching an identical letter, mouth open. Her husband dropped his to the ground like it had burned him. Reports flooded local radio. The sheriff's office set up a tip line. But what could they investigate? Some elaborate mass mailing prank? The letters were originals, not photocopies. Giveaways included small flecks where the pen paused and bled, subtle indentations from pressure. How had someone produced 1/700 of them? Trucks were checked. Cameras provided no useful footage. The kits, the letters, the silhouette, all pointed to an architect who'd stayed invisible. The town council held an emergency meeting in the high school gym, metal chairs screeching as half the population squeezed in. Sheriff Dunley took the mic. "Remain calm, probably marketing theatrics." Murmurs rose, half derision, half dread. Pastor Kulwicki called for prayer. Mr. Fenwick shouted about data theft. Meanwhile, I stared at the gym's skylights, imagining the sun blotting out, the world slipping into a strange twilight where rules of ownership might invert. Days passed. More diary pages arrived, sometimes in the morning, sometimes slipped under doors at night. None were duplicates. They continued sequentially. Entry after entry cataloged travels across prairies, rituals performed under meteor showers, children conceived in settlements whose names had been lost. The progenitor described these unions clinically, almost tenderly. I mixed my essence with theirs, so that when flesh withered, the ember remained, awaiting the hour when shadow devours sun and blood tides reverse. Psychologists labeled the event collective suggestion. Newspapers from Omaha sent reporters, cable news vans parked by the courthouse. Debunkers argued the letters were auto-generated using AI and fountain pens attached to robotic arms. Yet handwriting analysts insisted each line bore micro-variations consistent with a living hand. And while skepticism made headlines, nighttime in Greenglass grew restless. Dogs barked at empty corners. People reported dreams of standing in fields beneath a crooked constellation that pulsed like a wound. 2 weeks until the eclipse, I began waking at 2:17 a.m. Precisely, every night. I would sit up, heart battering, convinced someone had spoken my name in the dark. The diary entries now included instructions: fast from meat, cleanse with cedar smoke. At the moment of totality, lie upon the earth. Yield. Yield to what? Worse, yield what? I kept the letters in a shoebox, though I'd memorized large chunks unknowingly. I'd recite lines under my breath while brushing teeth, feeling the syllables vibrate, humming with potential. Rationally, I knew I was unraveling. So I accepted when my sister Alex, who'd moved to Denver years earlier, told me over FaceTime she was driving home. "You need company," she said, "and I want to see this circus myself." She pulled into the driveway the Sunday before the eclipse in a dusty Subaru, blasting old pop songs. For the first hour we were kids again, gossiping, making coffee, laughing at the absurdity of a cosmic ancestor threatening hostile repossession. But after dinner, she asked to see the letters. I handed her the shoebox. She read 5 pages, face blanching. "Lucy," she said, "how did this writer know about Dad's nickname for you?" "My bright star." The phrase appeared in the newest diary entry. I address in particular my bright star, the one who wakes earliest. I reread the sentence, stomach folding. Dad had died when I was 10. We never used that phrase publicly. Maybe coincidence, I muttered. Maybe a hacker scraped old emails. There were no emails in 1999, Alex whispered. She decided to attend the town hall scheduled for next morning while I went to work. I taught 5th grade. Lesson plans became futile. The kids only talked about the eclipse party promised by administrators pretending nothing cosmic was amiss. At recess, little Emma Crosby asked if monsters could live inside people's blood. I told her no, praying I was right. After school, I found Alex at Mom's gravestone, kneeling. She looked shaken. The council meeting had dissolved into chaos, she said. Some residents wanted to evacuate. Others insisted the letters were a sacred summons. A fringe group already pitched tents outside town, practicing cedar smoke rituals. The sheriff had requested the National Guard, but bureaucracy stalled. That night, thunderheads built on the horizon. The power flickered. At 2:17 a.m., I woke again, but this time I wasn't alone. Alex sat upright on the air mattress, eyes open yet unseeing. She whispered, "Yield," then lay back down. Morning found her with no memory of it. We decided to leave. Early on the 20th, we loaded the Subaru. Streets were eerily empty. When we reached the highway, barricades blocked the on-ramps. State troopers under orders to prevent potential mass hysteria spread. They claimed it was temporary. They did not meet our eyes. We turned back. Radio stations now broadcast a looped emergency bulletin. Stay indoors during the eclipse. Do not participate in unauthorized gatherings. The message played in a monotone that felt less like reassurance, more like resignation. June 21st dawned coppery and hot, cicadas shrilling from tree trunks. The eclipse would reach totality at 12:53 p.m., school and businesses closed. Town square filled anyway, some people protesting, some praying, some partying with lawn chairs and eclipse glasses. Alex and I stayed home, windows shuttered, but tension crawled like static through the air. At 11:30 a.m., another envelope slid through the mail slot. No footsteps, no shadow outside. Just the letter. Alex wanted to burn it. But I opened the seal, hands calm now, oddly certain I needed to know. Dearest bright star, rejoice. The hinge stands ajar. Fear is only the tremor of transformation. When light swallows light, grant me the husk you have tended. I will honor its memory. I will walk again, and through me, so shall you. Beneath the ink, a fresh line shimmered, invisible until tilted against light. You woke at 2:17 because that was the hour of your birth. I tasted metal in my mouth. Alex cursed, snatched the pages, stuffed them into the wood stove, and struck a match. Flames licked up, curling paper to black lace. Smoke spiraled, smelling faintly of cedar, though none burned in the stove. Outside, the sky began dimming as if a storm approached, though not a cloud marred the blue. Birds fell silent. Our phones pinged again. Heritage Horizon app notification, totality imminent. Unlock, reintegration mode. We threw the phones into the sink and ran water until screens went dark. Yet the vibrations continued underwater. 12:40 p.m. The world looked like dusk filtered through green glass. Shadows sharpened. Wind died. Far off a siren wailed, then cut. Alex paced, clutching a kitchen knife she'd found, useless but symbolic. I realized I could hear voices chanting somewhere, low and rhythmic, hundreds layered. A pounding rattled the door. We froze. "Lucy!" a man's voice called, Coach Madsen. "Come out, it's time." Through the peephole I saw him in a white linen shift, eyes glassy, several neighbors behind him. They were barefoot despite gravel, each carrying a cedar branch. "We're not participating," Alex shouted. Coach tilted his head. "He needs all of us. Don't you want to belong?" I slid the deadbolt. Steps retreated. The chorus outside swelled, rolling across town like surf. 12:51 p.m. A sliver of sun remained. Temperature dropped. Gooseflesh crawled my arms. The chanting swirled into words I somehow understood, though not English. Seru nak venat senai. I pressed palms to ears, yet still heard it. Inside bone. 12:53 p.m. The sun vanished. Totality. Darkness cloaked everything. Not night, but negative light. An inversion. Stars burst out, and at zenith the corona flared. Silence deepened until I could hear the thump of my heart, and, beneath that, another rhythm. Footsteps, many, moving in unison. Then came the knocking, not at the door, but inside my skull, as if something rapped from within, testing the walls. Pressure mounted behind my eyes. I doubled over, gasping. Across the room, Alex fell to her knees, knife clattering. Her mouth opened, but someone else's laugh poured out. "Yield!" I felt my body tilt, as though a current tugged marrow toward an unseen drain. Memories flashed. Birthday cakes, Dad's voice, crayons on wallpaper, and with each image, the pull intensified, siphoning self from flesh. I clamped teeth, fought to anchor to any thought, but even resistance felt predicted, folded into the progenitor's calculus. "Lucy!" Alex's voice cut through, a true voice, laced with terror, but real. She crawled, seized my shoulders. "Stay with me." The eclipse had another 90 seconds. I searched her eyes. Something flickered there, her will mirroring mine. We were not alone behind these eyes, but maybe together we were heavier than the thing trying to rise. I spat one word. "Remember." We spoke quickly, a volley of childhood fragments. Lemonade stands on Oak Street, the creek behind school, Mom singing off key, the smell of rain on asphalt after July storms. With each shared recall, the suction eased. I felt the knocking weaken, the progenitor's nails slipping on the inner door. From outside, screams erupted. Through shutters, a red glow seeped, though sun was blacked out. It pulsed, matching the chant's cadence. But our chanting of memories grew louder, because memory is a kind of song too. The glow dimmed. I sensed confusion, anger, desperation, a mind older than colonization suddenly unsure. 30 seconds to second contact. Alex grabbed the stove poker, smashed the front window. Cold air spun in. We dragged each other onto the porch. Across the street, dozens lay prone, arms outstretched, bodies convulsing as if ceding command. Above them, a faint shimmering outline, a tall silhouette, coalesced, luminous veins coursing with star stuff. It turned toward us, featureless yet burning with intent. It advanced without moving, gliding. I felt gravity tilt. Alex pressed her forehead to mine. Hold. 20 seconds. The corona blazed brighter, white petals thrashing. The silhouette flickered, losing cohesion, fragmenting into motes that recoiled at contact with our shared memory hum. All around, others noticed, families clutching, shouting names, tethering each other to lived moments. Some failed and lay still, others rose, fighting. 10 seconds. The progenitor reformed, but smaller, threads fraying. I shouted into the roaring wind of silence. "You can't have us, we are not empty." It was a ridiculous declaration, but truth rarely sounds clever. 5 seconds. The silhouette lunged. Pain speared my chest, like hooks dragging outward. I screamed and thought of Dad lifting me onto shoulders to watch 4th of July fireworks. The crackle, the sulfur smell, my awe. His voice, bright star, 0. A diamond ring of sunlight exploded as the moon's edge shifted. Daylight flooded back. Birds called. The silhouette shattered into sparks that hissed and guttered like embers in rain. The pressure vanished. All around, people stirred, dazed. Some did not rise. The air tasted of metal and cedar smoke. News later called it a mass seizure event triggered by collective psychosis exacerbated by atmospheric conditions. Heritage Horizon's website disappeared the next day. Server not found. The vans were traced to a shell company, then to nothing. Scientists found no technological explanation for the simultaneous data anomaly. The sun, they said, can do strange things to human minds. But in Greenglass, we know. We keep the shutters repaired. But once a year, on the Eclipse's anniversary, we gather in the gym. No pews, no podiums. We speak names of our living and our dead, recount birthdays and first kisses and lost bets and silly fights. Memory as defense, story as chainmail. Mr. Fenwick died that first year. On his nightstand lay a final letter never mailed, addressed to whoever follows. He'd written, "Shadow returns. But so will we, as long as we remember we were more than soil walked on by a wanderer." I sometimes wake at 2:17 a.m. The house is quiet. I touch the scar over my breastbone, a line that appeared the day after the eclipse, though no blade touched me. It reminds me a door almost opened. It reminds me why stories matter. The next total eclipse over Nebraska is decades away. We'll be ready.